From the Detroit Free Press, I'm Robin Chan with today's Voice Briefing. It's Friday, April 17th, 2026.
This is Todd Spangler, Washington correspondent for the Detroit Free Press. Midnight April 15th wasn't just the deadline for your taxes. It was also the deadline for political campaigns to report to the Federal Election Commission how much they'd raised in the first 3 months of 2026. And it was a very good report indeed from Mallory McMorrow, the Democratic state senator from Royal Oak who wants to be Michigan's next U.S. senator. McMorrow reported raising $3 million during the period. That's $1 million more than that raised by Congresswoman Haley Stevens of Birmingham and $730,000 more than former Health Director Abdul El-Sayed of Ann Arbor. In fact, McMorrow entirely erased the financial edge Stevens previously had in the Democratic primary race. That's not the only good news for McMorrow. A poll done by Emerson College of Boston and Wood TV of Grand Rapids showed McMorrow and El-Sayed tied for the lead in the primary race, with Stevens well behind. Stevens' pollster says the poll was flawed, however, and her campaign says the race remains very competitive. By the way, former Congressman Mike Rogers of White Lake appears to have all but sewed up the Republican nomination, with President Trump's endorsement, more than $4 million in the bank, and support pouring in from outside sources. The primary is August 4th.
I'm Sue Selasky, Detroit Free Press food and restaurant writer. When the Detroit Pistons begin their postseason playoffs at 6:30 p.m. Sunday, April 19th, basketball fans are in for a treat at Little Caesars Arena with new food items like Korean corn dogs, seasoned fries, and items created by a local food influencer on the menu. Inspired by Detroit flavors, the new food items and other exclusive playoff merchandise was announced on Wednesday, April 15th, by the Detroit Pistons and Delaware North Sports Service, the arena's food and beverage partner. Guests can expect, the announcement said, elevated selections of limited-time food and beverage offerings across the arena. These items join other menu items from Mike's Pizza Bar, the Mixing Board, and other regular concessions. For the first time, Delaware North Sports Service said they teamed up with a local fan on food. Its chefs collaborated with a local food influencer known as Eric Loves Cooking on social media platforms, who created 2 options, a smash burger and a deli steak sandwich, that will be available at the new Detroit Street Lab at Portal 28. The Detroit Street Lab is a nod to Detroit's street food culture and designed for speed, flavor, and creativity. You will find the details of all the new food offerings for the Pistons playoffs at free.com.
Hey there, everybody. This is Omari Sanko for the second Pistons beat writer for the Detroit Free Press. On this week's episode of our podcast, The Pistons Post, Bryce Simon and I gave a toast to their 61 season and looked ahead to the first round of the playoffs. Here's a quick snippet of our conversation.
I think all of these teams will give some sort of challenge, right? Charlotte with their offense, Miami because it's Miami, and Orlando is just sneaky. They've been weird all year, but they are kind of healthy right now. I just don't know if they're going to be able to gel together enough, but they can defend when they're really locked in. They have some high-level players, and so I think any of these teams will give Detroit a real challenge, but I think Detroit is here for it. I said this last night. They won 60 games. I'm sure you could go through their schedule and nitpick things here and there, and this guy didn't play, and this was an outlier shooting game. 60 wins, 0-2. There's something about your team and the foundation of your team and your culture to win 60 games in the regular season, and I have to believe that's going to pay off in the playoffs and show itself in the playoffs. So to answer the other part of your question, I want them to play Charlotte, and please, if a Charlotte Hornets fan hears this, do not aggregate that I'm saying that that's the easy matchup. I think it's the most fun matchup.
You can hear that full conversation in this week's episode of The Pistons Post, which is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, you can find our latest coverage on freep.com/sports.
Find more from the Detroit Free Press on freep.com. That's FREEP.com. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and you'll hear more from us Monday.